I'm just thinking of something you brought up of how every percentage body fat you drop below a certain amount, it gets exponentially harder. And again, I heard somebody give this comparison. I can't remember who, so I apologize to them for not giving them credit. It's like a tube of toothpaste. It's like a tube of toothpaste, right? So to get enough toothpaste to put on your toothbrush, when you have a fresh tube of toothpaste, it requires almost no effort, right? But what happens after you squeezed so much toothpaste out of that toothbrush? To get the same amount of toothpaste out, it requires exponentially more effort, right? Or like wringing out a wash rag, right? You can wring out a ton of water just with hardly any effort when it's soaking wet. But as it gets drier and drier, and that wetness being your body fat levels, you have to wring so hard just to get any amount of fluid out. So that's what losing body fat is like. And like you and I both said it. I can go from 15% to 7-8%, and it's not really difficult. But to get from there to 4 or 5 is an absolute nightmare.
I love the analogy, the toothpaste. You can get another tube of toothpaste. You don't have to use every single drop. Just get the other tube. It's the same with your body fat. You don't need to get every ounce of body fat off your body unless you choose to and you want to be a bodybuilder. But for 99% of the world, it's all about balance. And if you don't have balance, you're going to start having problems. So you start you're 50 pounds overweight. You start your weight loss journey. You make simple changes and it's easy. And then you start thinking, oh, fat, I got to reduce that. Then all of a sudden you reduce every single thing that has fat in it. And sooner or later you're down to 10 grams of fat a day. And that's too much. And I believe you said 30 grams of fat for women, 50 grams of fat for men. That should be basically a minimal. Now, if we're substituting with these fish oils and stuff, can we even less? Like I always recommend 3 servings of fatty fish a week, like salmon, trout and so on. Fatty fish, that's super healthy. But if some people are vegan, they don't have any fish. Like how many of these stinking pills, and they all have different sizes, should they have? Can we just say you need this many milligrams of EPA, DHA? Can you just say that? Can you just say, read the label, and as long as you follow, like this one says to take 2 a day, this one's 6 a day. This one, 3, 6, 9, so it's got the 6 and 9, it's so much easier to get. This one is focused on omega-3. What specific advice can you give people who want a fish oil substitute to get, and how many milligrams of this stuff do they need? And if they get that, can they just forget about it as long as you're eating enough calories? Like, could we lower 50 to 25 if it's all the healthiest fat in the world and not worry about it as long as you're eating enough calories? What do you think about that?
Well, again, there's no studies on this in particular, so I'm going to speculate. Okay. I would say that, if you're taking a supplement, you probably can afford to go a little bit lower, because those fats, a lot of them can be repackaged as other fats as well. When you have the omega-3s, the omega-6s, the omega-9s, that sort of thing. As far as like fish oil in particular, I look for something that's going to get you, at least 1,000 milligrams of EPA per day. But again, that's not really a need. It's more about there's some decent data on like blood lipids and possible effects on muscle protein synthesis as well. So I'm thinking about that in terms of like body composition. What is, I think about less about need and more about, okay, where can we function, quote unquote, optimally at? Understanding that optimal isn't a real thing and we never really know it. But yeah, I think about 1,000 milligrams of EPA a day. And usually the fish oils I've seen are like in a 3-to-2 or 2-to-1 ratio of EPA to DHA. And it looks like EPA is probably the more important one compared to DHA. EPA also appears to have some benefits in terms of, it's actually a proteasome inhibitor, and the proteasome is the major pathway of protein degradation in human skeletal muscle. So this is where it gets complicated. Protein degradation is actually necessary for muscle protein synthesis as well, so we don't want to inhibit it too much. But again, you're not going to inhibit it too much with just a fish oil. And I think this gets into, if you don't mind, you brought up something in the last thing you were saying that I think is really important. And I think people major in the minors and they make this stuff so complicated that it seems almost inaccessible to people. I've had people say, well, I can't afford to go to the gym 2 hours a day. In fact, we have in our app, Carbon Diet Coach, we have a Facebook group. We have about 10,000 people in that Facebook group. And what we hear a lot is it even worth me exercising because I can only go 30 minutes 3 times a week, this sort of thing. And we tell them like, yeah, like whatever you can do, like do it. Even if it's only like a 10-minute, like I don't know anybody who only has 10 minutes, but even if it's just a 10-minute walk a day, right? Like I posted something yesterday on Instagram. I'm not sure what date this will come out, but basically looking at walking and mortality and number of steps per day. And they found like actually more than a linear decrease in the rate of mortality going from 2,000 steps a day to 8,000 steps a day. And the benefits didn't really cap out until about 12,000 steps per day. Now, I don't think walking is magic. It's just people being more active. And so like, think about that. You get the majority, like you can get so many health benefits. They were talking about a 5 times lower mortality rate in people who did 8,000 steps a day versus 2,000. So 6,000 steps, you're talking about a 30-minute walk, pretty much. Put a podcast on, heck, take your phone out, watch Netflix while you're walking, something like that. Call a friend. Anybody has time for that. And it can make a huge difference in your health. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't worry about some of these small things because, our audience loves to kind of dissect things. But also if you're listening and feel like, man, this stuff's so over my head, I'm having paralysis by analysis, I don't know what to do. Anything is better than nothing. Start where there are tons of obese people who lost hundreds of pounds just by counting calories and walking. Like literally that simple. Okay. So don't let a ton of information overload prevent you from trying to just get started where you are right now with what you got.
Absolutely. A little bit goes a long way. And there's a big difference between beneficial and optimal. And rather than thinking optimal all the time, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, it's like, look, if you get in a half a gram, you're going to get a shit ton of results. Same applies to fat. I'm telling people 3 servings of fatty fish a week. If you only get 1, you're like, I don't really like fish. Well, just once. These pills. It says to take 1 of these twice a day. Well, I might forget. 1 once a day. I mean, you don't have to be perfect. And as you said with the steps, 2,000 to 8,000, such a dramatic increase in life expectancy. And 8 to 12, a little bit better. Probably from 12 to 16, maybe a little bit better. But it's certainly capping off here. So rather than think, what's the optimal? 15,000 steps says, I can't do that. So I'm not doing any of it. That's what people do. And it's like, just do something. I keep telling people 150 minutes of moderate cardio a week. I have people write in, I'm doing 60. Well, do 70. That's helping you. Yep. I can't lose 100 pounds. Lose 10. You will for sure be healthier if you lose 10. You don't need to lose 100. Maybe I always pick half of their goal as their real goal. You want to lose 100, let's go with 50. But even if they lose 10, amazing. So much better.
Yeah, and actually the research, Greg, shows that you get the majority of weight loss benefits in the first 10% of weight loss. So your blood markers when I first got to University of Illinois, where I did my PhD, my advisor, Dr. Don Lehman, was in the middle of a 16-month female fat loss study. He said they saw 80% of people people who were adherent, 80% of people. These were like metabolic syndrome pre-diabetics. 80% of people, their blood markers completely normalized in less than 4 weeks. Just from basically not eating like crap, getting in a calorie deficit, and starting to do really modest amounts of exercise. I think they had them walk 30 minutes 3 times a week. It is not, to go from really unhealthy to like okay is super easy. I'm not trying to minimize people who struggle out there, but it is not a high bar to entry. It really isn't. It is not a high bar to entry weight loss wise. Like just losing a little bit of weight. You have to think about energy and type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes and obesity are energy toxicities. Okay. Excess energy is toxic no matter the source. So if you just pull some of that energy back, immediately your body will start healing and you will see differences in your blood markers.
So I just want to clarify, just so that the viewer knows for sure what this is, because this is amazing news to hear, that you don't really have to get to your dream physique to have all those health benefits. 80%, the first 10%. So does that mean if you're 300 pounds, if you lose 10% of that, 30, that you basically would get 80% of the benefits? If you're
at least
200 pounds, you lose 20. If you're 400 pounds, you lose 40. Well, this is fantastic. So that means, like, look, people listening to this out there, you might have a lot of weight to lose. Forget thinking about having to lose that 100 pounds. 10% of what you are right now, make that your goal right now, and you get 80% of the benefits. I mean, they might not be able to, like me and you were highly motivated. We love exercising. Not everyone is like us, unfortunately. But if they could just somehow convince themselves to lose 10% of their weight, just a little bit of effort, you can become 80% better. I mean, to me, that trade-off it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and if I can speak to, I'm sure there's a lot of personal trainers and coaches out there that listen to you and I. If I can just speak to them as well, like, meet your clients where they're at and understand that too. Like, I'm sure, Greg, you have certain things that, like me, I don't enjoy, and so I don't put a lot of effort into them. Right? Like, I hate cleaning. Right? Like, I'm fortunate to make a good living. I hire somebody to clean my house because I hate it. So does that make me lazy? Well, I just don't enjoy it, right? Now, I put a certain amount of energy into it. Like, even though I have a cleaner, I still like pick up after myself and I load the dishwasher and whatnot. But I do really minimal stuff, right? For some people, that's like exercise to them. They're not lazy. They just don't enjoy it like some people do. Now, I would submit to them that if they try to make it part of their habits, and as they start to feel better, they may start enjoying it more. But if somebody's obese, it's not like them going in and feeling like you and I feel. Like, exercise can hurt for obese people. And it's also, a lot of obese people have really, really bad anxiety about going to a gym and, getting filmed or being judged or, those sorts of things. So if you can, again, personal trainers, coaches, lower that barrier to entry, right? So if somebody comes to you and, like, as an online coach and says, I can't do, I don't feel like going to gym. Hey, cool, no problem. Let's just get you walking, 30 minutes every day, right? And this is what you're eating right now. Let's make some substitutions here. Let's put some diet soda instead of regular soda. Let's take this full fat dressing out and put this in, making small substitutions, meeting them where they're at. And then you try to walk them into a more advanced level over time, no pun intended. I think you'll see a lot more benefits than just, taking somebody who, might have 100 pounds that they want to lose and immediately saying, okay, 5 times a week, 2 hours a day, like, that is such a shock. It would be like telling me, you need to not only clean up your house, you got to wax the floors every day. You got to wash the windows. You've got to dust everywhere. Like, I'm just not going to do anything, and a lot of people are like that. So really, to the coaches out there, meet people where they're at. If you get somebody who's like me, Greg and I, who are super motivated, it can be fun because you can really geek out with programming and all that kind of stuff. But if you really want to change someone's life who needs your help, meet them where they're at and try to just slowly push them a little bit forward.
I love this cleaning analogy. I hate cleaning, but if someone told me all you got to do is clean 10% of the house and magically you get 80% of the house clean, I can do that. 80% of the house is clean. You just clean 10% of it. It's kind of like, hey, if you clean 10%, I'll clean 70% when you're not around, your girlfriend, boyfriend, circle friend. And the house won't be perfect, but it's 80% clean. It's good enough. And all you got to do is put in the 10% effort of getting 10% of your weight off. I mean, who in the heck is watching this right now and is not going to do it? Like, if you're not, well, I don't know how to help you. What am I supposed to do? You can get my cookbook. Other than that, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, and it's obviously, I'm throwing out a 10% number as a general rule. Like if you lose 10% and you don't see, your blood markers resolve, well, maybe the threshold is 15% for you or whatever. But we do know you don't have to get to like 6-pack level to be healthy. And I remember having this conversation with so many competitors who would like put on body fat in the off season to maybe be, 30, 40 pounds over stage weight. They're still relatively lean by most standards. And they'd say, well, I just want to get healthy again. And I'm like, guess what? You are healthy for the most part. Your mentality may not be healthy, but you're healthy. Um, and I think, a lot of good tools. Greg, you brought it up, and hopefully you don't mind me plugging, but I think cookbooks are great because obviously, like, some people, they don't have the wherewithal to even, like, hey, what substitutions can I make? Right? Like, that's a huge game changer for a lot of people, is having substitutions to make to where they can make food that they like, that's satiating, but that still tastes good and is low energy density. And then, like I said, we have a coaching app called Carbon Diet Coach, which basically, for $10 a month, it will give you macros, and then you check in every week with certain metrics that the coach asks, and it will adjust those macros based on your goal, on your rate of loss or gain, and how you're progressing, just like a coach would. And it has a built-in food tracker just for convenience with, like, barcode scanners and whatnot. So, I mean, if you had, like, for example, that app and then your cookbook, so you've got something to tell you what to eat, and then you know how to cook it, I mean, that's a huge benefit for a lot of people. And then, like, just getting into the gym, or not even getting into the gym, just doing walking, those sorts of things. I mean, you're going to get such a huge benefit just from those things. And those are such a low cost, high yield items.